Evelyn Suzanne Cope Ulbrich was born on Sunday, July 17, 1955, at the Primary Children's Hospital in Salt Lake City, Utah, to George and Evelyn Cope. George was 42 and Evelyn just 33 when they took Suzanne home to their residence at 906 Mark Avenue, where she would live until she married. While July 17, 1955 would appear as ordinary as any other day or year, it was actually quite an extraordinary time. Her birthday would be remembered and treasured by untold billions, as it was the very same day when Walt Disney celebrated the grand opening of his biggest dream called Disneyland. Other highly infamous people born in 1955 include Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, both who would bring about great changes in the world. 1955 was a time when great things were happening in the United States and the world that would shape our lives as we know them today, including the first McDonald's that was ever erected. Coca-Cola started being distributed in cans for the first time as opposed to only bottles. Dr. Jonas Salk's polio vaccine was announced to the world, saving untold misery and harm. The original Mickey Mouse Club TV program debuted on ABC. The USS Nautilus became the first operational nuclear-powered submarine. It was indeed a time of notable new technologies and inventions that included the atomic clock, hovercraft, Lego, Velcro, and when the first pocket transistor radios became available. Dwight D. Eisenhower was the President of the United States, and the country enjoyed a great expansion in the economy following the end of World War II. In 1955, the average cost of a new home was $10,950. Gasoline was just 23 cents a gallon, the average rent $87 a month, and an average price of a new car $1,900. Unaware to her, Suzanne's birth would also be a precursor to an event only 1 month later that would ultimately change and shape her adult life, when a young German family with their new baby son, who would become her future husband, immigrated to the United States. Suzanne was born into a strong and loving family with deep roots in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. These roots included ancestors who immigrated from Danish and other surrounding European countries. Her heritage includes many notable pioneers who sacrificed everything they had to join the saints in Utah by embarking upon a long and treacherous journey across the wild Atlantic by ship and the vast U.S. wilderness by wagon or hand-pulled carts. Their legacy of bravery, hard work, and obedience to God's commandments were not lost on the Cope family, who faithfully followed the footsteps of their rich ancestry by nobly serving in various callings and capacities throughout their lives. Suzanne was a tow-headed blonde in her early years and had to withstand many pranks from her older brothers and sister, which all helped her become a stronger person throughout her life. She was also a very loving daughter, loyal friend, and gifted with a determination to always choose and do what was right. While her relationships with men seemed questionable, and even a bit strange at times, she never strayed from her long-held belief in always being righteous and morally clean. Others saw that special light and twinkle of excitement in her that would lead her to becoming a leader, teacher, confidant, and a force for good in the lives of countless children. Her inborn motherly love instincts and unselfish character would touch many as she strived throughout her life to not only raise her children, but others as well through her service in the primary and young women's organizations of the church and at various daycare centers. Her innate ability to see children's true potential in the same light as our Heavenly Father does enabled her to teach and even rescue many souls entrusted into her care. There are many children who are now grown adults that can trace many of their blessings back to this modern-day saint who gave of herself so freely and willingly. She met her immigrant husband-to-be, Ron Ulbrich, at South High School when she began dating a mutual friend. They shared a class for the first time during their senior year in 1972 and 73 at high school and also double-dated often. This led to a rich and wonderful friendship between the two, so when their senior high school prom arrived, she finally accepted Ron's third invitation to go to this event with him, despite the fact that he was of another faith. They had a wonderful time dancing under the Utah Capitol Rotunda and fell in love with one another and would become virtually inseparable in the months and years that followed. Suzanne was also a great missionary throughout her life. She had read the Book of Mormon in its entirety for herself while in high school and received confirmation from the Holy Ghost of its veracity. She eagerly shared it with 5 students at her high school, Ron being one of them. Of the 5, 4 soon thereafter became members of the church, including Ron, who was baptized a member on February 4, 1974. They married and were sealed for all time and eternity at the Salt Lake City Temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints on August 21, 1975. They honeymooned in Europe for a full month, which gave Suzanne the opportunity to meet Ron's grandparents and relatives who lived in and around Hamburg, Germany. Soon after they were married, they moved to Mount Pleasant, Utah, and took up residence in the house where Suzanne's mother, Evelyn Jensen Cope, was raised and built by her past pioneer ancestors. Ron attended Snow College in nearby Ephraim, Utah, for 2 years, and they began their family with the arrival of Kurt in December of 1976. Following college, the new couple began a whirlwind of moves, beginning with relocating back to Salt Lake City, where they built their own house, then to Colorado Springs, Colorado, on to Santa Fe, New Mexico, where they lived for nearly 20 years, then to Monroe, Washington, back down to Sweetwater, Texas, and then up to Iona, Idaho, just outside of Idaho Falls, where they reside today. Through all the moves and often unexpected changes, Suzanne always supported her husband and toughed out the periods of separation as Ron began his new job elsewhere, the moving, rebuilding, and establishing a new life in a new community, making new relationships, and helping their growing family. From 1978 through 1998, Sue and Ron would add Stephanie, Angie, Michelle, David, John, and finally Christian to their family, each one a special spirit and an added blessing that have enriched their lives. The large-sized family with 7 children, relatively normal throughout most of Utah, was quite the spectacle at most of the places they would live while raising their family. But this never deterred Suzanne. A large family was as normal and natural to her as was breathing air, and was something she desired even before she married. She was also determined to be a stay-home mother so that her kids always had a stable and reliable place of refuge to return after being out in the world. With few exceptions, when the family needed more money, she was able to stay at home even though it meant added sacrifices. As she celebrates her 65th birthday, Suzanne now enjoys retirement, spending more time with Ron, serving in her church callings, telephoning her busy kids, and being with her precious grandkids whenever opportunity avails itself. She absolutely loves the weekly family Zoom meetings where the family shares the Come Follow Me program of the church, as well as catching up on new happenings with the family. She marvels how the family has grown over the years to what it has become now, and enjoys seeing the personal growth of each member of the family. Despite life's many unexpected twists and turns, she does not resent any of it. In typical fashion, she always chooses to see the positive in others and whatever life delivers. Looking back, she sees the faces of so many wonderful new friends that have been added, the experiences, cultures, and new foods from the various places they've lived, the memories she had raising her family at each home, the homes she helped build, the various church callings at the branch, ward, and stake levels, and watching her children grow and become adults and parents. It would have been so much easier to have lived life in one place, to never gone through all the hassles of moving, to stick with familiar faces at churches and callings, and to simply remain in a place where everything was very familiar. But that was not to be. And so she, like her pioneer ancestors of old, made the difficult sojourn in life while never complaining, never surrendering, never blaming others, but instead faced all life's challenges head on with love in her heart and an always enduring faith in God. Suzanne is a modern-day pioneer in her own right and a supernal example of how God would like each of his children to be as she devoted her life to serving others in her role as a wife, mother, grandmother, church leader, neighbor, and friend. She carries the love of Christ in her countenance and lives life to the very best of her abilities each and every day. We who are your family love you, Mom. You are our hero, and one to whom we most look up to. Your example inspires each of us to be better at who we are and who we can become. We are individually and collectively as a family blessed because of your unconditional love, example of service to others, and devotion to God, country, and family. While the likes of Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, who arrived in the world with you back in 1955, may have changed how we live in the world today, your acts of love and charity will be influential not only in the lives of all you've impacted thus far, but also to unfolding generations that follow them throughout all eternity. Your rewards will not be measured by riches of the world as we see them now, but rather by the everlasting, ever-existing riches that God himself showers upon us. And so we wish upon you God's richest blessings on this momentous occasion, and also in your retirement as you continue to pioneer new paths forward to the new vistas of life that lie ahead of you. We love you and thank you for all you have done to enrich and bless our lives, and pray that God will grant that all your dreams and wishes may come true.